A prime Tommy, the Duke Morrison was a powerful hitter who possessed a great left hook. However, he was chinny, and that factor made him an exciting fighter, though it cost him against stiff punchers.
If you put Rocky Marciano and Floyd Patterson together, you'd have me.
Morrison, just 2 years removed as Tommy Gunn, was back in the ring doing what he did best.
All I'm asking for is a chance. And just one shot.
A crowd-pleasing power puncher, along with his fame from Rocky V, had made him a household name.
When we look at the heavyweight division, today we get to look at Tommy Morrison.
With just one loss on his record, a devastating fifth-round shellacking at the hands of Ray Mercer, Morrison was now on the comeback trail.
He's still young, he's just 23 years old, and he still has the time to develop into not just an attraction, but I think into a legitimate heavyweight contender.
Since the loss to Mercer in October of 1991, he was fighting more and more often.
Tommy Morrison, as a fighter, at this point is more dedicated, more disciplined than he's ever been. He's certainly on a road.
Morrison had landed 4 knockout victories in 1992, and just 6 weeks after his last win, Morrison was poised to meet his toughest test of the year in Hipp.
Tommy Morrison's opponent today is Joe Hipp.
Joe the Boss Hipp, a fringe contender and a member of the Blackfoot tribe, was a rough, tough heavyweight and the type of guy you didn't want to meet in an unfriendly bar.
Now, Joe Hipp has lost 20 pounds in the last 8 months, and this is going to be the lightest that he's ever fought as a professional.
At 29, Hipp was a rugged, durable contender with only 2 losses on his dossier. After piecing together a 3-fight win streak, Hipp, like Morrison, was staring at his toughest test since tasting defeat.
On all cards when he did.
You're referring to Yuri Volin, who he fought back in April of 1991. That was actually on the...
While Tommy had the punch but a suspect chin, Joe was gritty with solid whiskers at that point in his career.
When he hit him, he just explodes when he lands.
Right up.
It might work for him at the lower levels of boxing, well, not at the top. And seeing Mercer still standing there. Ray Mercer started to punch back in that 4th round, and I think those punches might...
Tommy Morrison and Joe Hipp, stay with us.
Which is real dangerous because that's
Carrying his gloves low, and is just what we've seen here as we move into the 2nd round here.
Early on, Morrison was landing the cleaner punches and outclassed Hipp with his hand speed and crisp combinations.
On the Rust Tough clock.
Right to the body there, he came inside with it, which he hasn't done much of. After a loss like the Mercer loss, the mental part.
Steps over the top. Oh, with that left.
Redness and swelling had already begun to form on the right side of Hipp's face.
Virginia Military Institute at a lower altitude in Kansas City for the Ray Mercer fight. Alex Thunder.
That reacted to the loss. I mean, you learn from it, and he hasn't looked close to being hurt.
With regularity. So maybe we want to remind our local ABC stations. And Alex took him off balance and hit.
Morrison, measured and under control, was now eating more and more leather, particularly a long right jab from an opponent who was now moving laterally.
Category is several notches below there.
Very slowly, but he is coming forward. The key thing, I think, Dan, is that he has not shown, exhibited...
That Joe Hipp is a southpaw fighter. And, of course, facing a right-hander is nothing new.
You have to have questions about Tommy Morrison's step.
Another left hand by Hipp would be an understatement. But Joe Hipp, you can see it become interesting here. In the closing of the 4th, we are scheduled for...
Morrison put Hipp down in the 5th with a vicious right uppercut, straight right combination.
First one we've seen.
Oh, and a right to the chin puts Joe Hipp down by Morrison.
From a man who's...
And a right hand by over 2 minutes.
Holding on. In the mouth.
Yep, Hipp bleeding from the mouth, and Joe Hipp better protect himself.
If he's got enough left, he looks
hanging on. And Tommy Morrison a double.
But the durable Joe somehow survived and got back into the fight.
I mean, you expend a lot of energy.
Talking to each other during that
changed his whole life. He was knocked out.
Tommy Morrison has never seen the
Tommy Morrison. He is clearly... Oh, another left hand.
Oh, and another a good combination. My life would be a lot simpler.
At this point, he's in a survival mode.
Well, he won't get a break
At
for
this
him.
stage, been able to carry here.
Barely stemmed that flow of blood from his mouth.
With the bout advancing into rounds 7 and 8, Morrison was breathing heavily with his mouth wide open.
Clearly, Sylvester Stallone and Joe Hipp have, again, Hipp coming forward. Morrison, it appears the problem was this, but we have to point out, Joe Hipp.
Right now, I would love to have
Morrison ahead by 2 points, and Tommy Morrison has to find a way to win.
the trend of the last couple rounds. To give you an
Oh, good
illustration.
uppercut by Joe Hipp.
Hipp was now the aggressor as he moved forward and connected at will with lead left hands to Morrison's face.
By Joe Hipp.
Forearm shiver. Oh, you saw there how awkward it in and missed the right hand. He does get a second or third win, or whatever he's looking for.
And there is Joe Hipp, a member of was born, grew up in Yakima, and he is on the verge.
It was 11-1. Fights, but people just looked at me and said,
Yes, that is a concerned look. And you see Joe here in Reno has definitely swung over Joe Hipp. A reminder that we are not scoring is on the 10-point must.
With just 30 seconds remaining in the 9th, Morrison reached down deep and fired a blistering right uppercut.
You can't fight with your mouth open. Oh, a good right hand by Morrison. And that hurts Joe Hipp. Joe Hipp is in trouble. Joe Hipp is down. A right hand from Tommy Morrison. Staggers Joe Hipp. He's up at 8 and ends the fight. And Dracula stops the fight.
You know, I couldn't, right in the second round, I broke my jaw and my right hand in the 4th round. One of the reasons I moved around and managed the jab. Joe Hipp is one of the hardest punches I've ever fought. Very tough guy, very courageous, and I take my hat off to him.
Yeah, I was very confident. You know, I took his best shot. He just caught me in the end.